I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Current. Taxes are going up for most of us. Payroll taxes are increasing starting with your next paycheck. Almost 80% of American households are affected. The tax is going up 2%. The politicians did not renew a cut. Now, if you're making $30,000 a year, you'll pay $50 more in taxes each month. $83 more per month if you're at $50,000. And at the top tax level of $113,700 a year, your taxes are going up nearly $190 each month. Now, the payroll tax pays for Social Security. The income tax, which pays for everything else, is also going up for almost everyone making at least $400,000 a year. The House of Representatives voted for the new taxes in the middle of last night.
On this vote, the yeas are 257. The nays are 167. The motion is adopted.
Now, that House vote, along with a Senate vote at 2 a.m. New Year's Day, will produce more than $600 billion in new taxes, but there are hardly any spending cuts. Now, listen carefully to the president.
Tonight's agreement further reduces the deficit by raising $620 billion in revenue from the wealthiest households in America. And there will be more deficit reduction as Congress decides what to do about the automatic spending cuts that we have now delayed for 2 months.
The Congressional Budget Office says the president is correct about the amount of money coming from tax increases, but the CBO says the deal also increases spending by more than $300 billion. And taken together, CBO calculates this deal will add $4 trillion to the country's deficit over the next 10 years. As for the spending cuts that were supposed to happen yesterday, going into effect automatically because Washington didn't act earlier, they've been put off for another 2 months. Now, while the Congress is taxing and spending by the billions, they could not find any time to help us recover from Hurricane Sandy. There will be no vote in the House on an aid package already approved by the Senate to bring relief to the thousands who are suffering. The current term of Congress ends tomorrow at noon, and with it, the $60 billion aid package. Congressman Peter King, a Republican from Long Island, is angry with his party and the mess in Washington.
It's absolutely devastating, and what was most galling about this is that within 10 days of Katrina, we gladly voted $60 billion, and it went over $100 billion ultimately. It's now 9 weeks since Sandy struck Long Island, New York, New Jersey, and we have not gotten a penny from the United States Congress. And we played by the rules, as I said in my speech last night. I have to go back now. This weekend, I'll be telling these people why the Congress of the United States refused to give them the food and shelter that every other region of the country has gotten. I gladly voted for when it came to any other state in the country when they had a natural disaster. That is a responsibility of the federal government, and the people in my party, they wonder why they're becoming a minority party. They're writing off New York, they're writing off New Jersey. Well, they've written me off, and they're going to have a hard time getting my vote. I can tell you that.
Now, Congressman King is one of the few people still left in Washington. Right after the president spoke to reporters about the congressional tax bill, he took the helicopter to Andrews Joint Base outside of Washington. And a minute after midnight, Air Force One was headed back to Hawaii and more vacation for the president. This leg of the presidential holiday will cost more than $3 million just to fly the plane round trip. The White House says that it's unknown when Mr. Obama will sign the new tax bill. It'll have to be flown to Hawaii after officials in Congress finish some technical requirements. No estimate on how much that flight will cost. Now, during the weeks-long melodrama that Washington called the fiscal cliff, Catholic Church leaders had urged sensitivity by the politicians to the needs of the poor. In fact, the head of Catholic Charities calls the federal budget, quote, a moral document that demonstrates the nation's priorities. Congress has been unable to pass a federal budget for more than 3 years. Up next, the Pope prays for the Middle East, Syrians hope for survival, and one of the most sacred places in the Holy Land stays open. Details as Currents continues after the break. Welcome back. Pope Benedict is calling upon the Universal Church to pray for the Christian communities in the Middle East. Each month, the Holy Father lists several intentions and suggests that Catholics throughout the world join him in prayer. Focusing on the Middle East this January, Benedict is calling for prayers so that the Christians there so often discriminated against may receive from the Holy Spirit the strength to persevere and the grace to live out their faith with joy. Now, during his Christmas Mass homily, the Pope expressed particular concern for the deeply wounded and divided people of Syria. Meantime, on the scene in Syria, the vicar of Aleppo, Bishop Giuseppe Nazaro, worries that the civil war is destroying the whole country. He says there is a mountain of human rubble, and yet the bishop and Christians were able to enjoy a bit of Christmas joy at Mass. Now, because of the danger from the fighting and from snipers, midnight masses were celebrated in the afternoon on December 24th. Bishop Nazaro said everyone was coming to church seeking a word of comfort, which they can't find anywhere else in Syria. He was surprised that so many churches were overflowing with faithful, since so many people have fled Syria in fear of the war. Now, many of the refugees head to Turkey, where their hopes for the future are found in the rebels and in God.
Life is okay. Thank God. God is helping us. May God give Erdogan long life. He protects us from Bashar the donkey. We are walking slowly. We are carrying herbs, malwa. It's delicious. God's gifts are plentiful.
I am crying, see television. I must help these people. Where is America? Assad must go. Now, tomorrow, must go. The world, don't forget Assad killing these people.
We are picking herbs. Bashar al-Assad made us refugees. He killed 2 of my children. They destroyed our homes. I wish the world a happy new year, and I hope that by that time Bashar al-Assad will be gone, and hope that we can go back to our children, to our country, to our land, to our families. Hamza had a lack of oxygen. His birth was delayed. He has a neurological disease. Here the doctors give us hope. Inshallah, he will walk. What do you like to draw? I wish everybody a happy new year. May God bless the rebels and save them. And may God save my child. He's a rebel.
In an unexpected development, Pope Benedict has been invited to visit Iran. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the president, has sent a written letter to the Holy Father. According to Iranian news reports, the purpose of the visit would be to develop dialogue and strengthen ties between Christians and Muslims. No response yet from the Vatican. Ahmadinejad is also offering the Pope the opportunity to visit several churches. Contact between the Vatican and Iran has been ongoing for the last few years. And this is not the first time Ahmadinejad has invited the Holy Father to the country. After a Vatican cardinal visited Tehran early last year, the Iranian extended an invitation which was not accepted. Well, a compromise has been accepted by the guardians of one of the most important sites in Christianity. And with the agreement, a revered place, the Holy Land, will remain accessible to all.
This is one of the most sacred places in Christianity, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, built around the site where Jesus is said to have been crucified, buried, and resurrected. The church dates back to the 4th century. Here, tradition is everything. While times changed drastically in the world outside, the church rarely did. Traditionally, it was exempt from paying local taxes and other charges, including its water bill. So when payment was demanded for a bill backdated for 15 years of past charges, back to when a private company took over management of the water supply, church officials balked. The total, 9 million shekels, about $2.3 million.
The Church of the Holy Sepulchre had the privilege since the Ottoman Empire not to pay.
It was not the first time the church had been warned times have changed, and it must change with them. Israel's foreign ministry spokesman told CNN the status quo dates back to times when there was no running water to be paid for anyway. Today, things have changed, and people need to pay their bills. They may not pay municipal tax, they may not pay income tax, because that is the status quo, but they have to pay for goods and commodities. There is no other church or synagogue or mosque in Israel that is exempted from paying water bills. At one point in the impasse, the Greek Orthodox Patriarch's bank account was frozen, so it could not pay for teachers, staff, or the church's upkeep.
We found ourselves in a very difficult situation, practically. But we saw also that this privilege of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was not recognized, and this way the sanctity and the significance and the history of this church, which receives every day thousands of pilgrims, was insulted. And we felt very sorry for this, and we had no other choice. We had to protest.
The three patriarchs who share this church threatened to close its doors in protest. With an estimated 1 million pilgrims and tourists who come to see this church every year, and the dozens of shops that rely on them, the threat reverberated through the old city. Business owner Nicholas Shbeta was worried.
If it wasn't here, nobody will come, because it will be like old city and people roaming about, just seeing walls, and roads and that thing. But this place is very important, is more important than the Vatican even, because it's #1 for the Christian church. The Catholic, the Orthodox, all different sections.
His is the first shop at the top of the stairs that leads to the Holy Sepulchre. Pilgrims are his main and often his only customers. But eventually, church officials say the Israeli government intervened to break the stalemate. The church and the private company struck a compromise. The church would pay its water bills from now on, but not the 9 million shekels for the backdated bill. A compromise that seems sensible to this visitor.
The churches, like all of them, aren't sort of poor institutions, are they? So I think we ought to expect them to pay their bills, although it's a bit harsh to date them back to 1967. Maybe that's going a bit far.
The agreement all came together a couple of months before Christmas and long before Easter, leaving the church open so the faithful and the curious can continue to flock to the holy site, where many believe one of the most miraculous of miracles once occurred.
Coming up next, the new year will be busy for the Pope. We'll look at his agenda as Currents continues after the break. Welcome back. Even though the year is only 2 days old, it is shaping up as a busy one for Pope Benedict. A new encyclical on faith is expected early in the year. It will complement previous encyclicals on hope and charity. Now, a new ambassador from the U.S., a new Secretary of State for the Vatican, and a new Archbishop for Chicago are all developments expected during the year. And no one will be surprised if the Pope names more new cardinals. Certain to be a highlight of the year, World Youth Day in Rio de Janeiro. Hundreds of thousands of young Catholics are expected to join with the Holy Father in Rio for a week in July. Building faith and religious identity will be emphasized during the gathering. This will be the Holy Father's second trip to Brazil, the country with the world's largest Catholic population. And throughout the year, the Pope will continue to focus on the year of faith. Meantime, our Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens has suffered a loss of a faithful man who made big contributions to our liturgy. Joseph B. Smith, the diocesan music director, has passed away. An enormously talented musician, Mr. Smith served as organist at St. James Cathedral for the past 22 years. He composed much of the music and hymns currently in use in the diocese. Mr. Smith performed for the Pope at the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington and at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan. His death last Thursday was sudden and unexpected. Today, the Bishop of Brooklyn, Bishop DiMarzio, celebrated a Mass of Christian burial.
Joseph was a man of very few words, but he spoke in music. He made music come alive and made that a message that was from his heart and his soul and all that he was. He was a man of the church.
Oh, the choir was shocked. And we're very, very sorry to lose him because I don't think he can be replaced. You know, it's not his spirit, at least.
We just feel like the rug is pulled out from under you. That's how I feel about it. But I'll always remember him and his expressions during rehearsal. We would always exchange glances, and it was like having a private joke with Joe. He was just so funny, and really a dear, sweet guy.
He wouldn't say much, but he'd kind of raise his eyebrows and smile, and that was the end. That was Joe, that was just totally Joe. The choir was made up of people from the Vicariate Choir, and then we had other musicians who worked with Joe throughout the years at the cathedral who, when they heard of his passing, wanted to come back and sing. So we had a great mix. We had about 50 people upstairs.
He was a quiet man, but when he was in front sitting at his organ, his fingers would be going, his hands would be going, his feet would be moving, and he was in rapture. You couldn't get through to him because he was with his music. He was with the Lord playing for him.
In the beginning, God created music. And at the end, we are embraced by that music. That's our prayer for Joe now. Then now he sings with those choirs, dances with the angels, and prays for us who still continue on our journey toward the triune God.
Mr. Smith leaves behind his wife, Jessica Tranzillo Smith, the music director at St. Luke Church in Whitestone, Queens. A new system to suck the dirt right off visitors is being installed at the Sistine Chapel in Rome. About 5 million tourists visit Michelangelo's famed frescoes every year. Dirt and dust are the greatest enemies to the paintings. So Vatican officials are installing suction vents along a 110-yard-long entrance to the chapel to vacuum hair, dust, and dirt off of the visitors. The installation is to be completed by the end of the year. Now, if you want to visit the Sistine Chapel without bringing your dust and dirt along, today you can do so and also visit St. Peter's Basilica while you're at it.
It's never been easier to visit St. Peter's Basilica. Forget the long lines and wait times. All you need is a computer and internet. The website of Vatican City offers access to 10 spectacular 360-degree views. Let us start our tour with Bernini's famous Chair of St. Peter, located at the apse of the Basilica. The chair is crowned by this image of a white dove, representing the Holy Spirit surrounded by golden angels. Surely you have never been so close to the altar before. From here, the popes throughout history have chaired the most important liturgical celebrations. Looking up, you will see the elaborate details on St. Peter's baldachin, a large sculpted bronze canopy. Furthermore, we can view the length of the nave and find it to be the largest Catholic church in the world. Plus, if you have never traveled to Rome around Christmas time, the tour allows you access to the Basilica's nativity display or a close-up look at one of its most popular sculptures, the Pieta by Michelangelo. Another must-see attraction is St. Peter's Basilica lit up at nighttime. If you look to the right, you can see the papal residence. The two illuminated windows belong to the Pope's office and his bedroom. Of course, no tour is complete without visiting one of the most popular sites within the Vatican museums, the Sistine Chapel. You can admire the vault with great detail to follow step by step the history of creation, including the well-known fresco that depicts God giving life to Adam. Looking ahead, you will see the representation of Michelangelo's Last Judgment near the altar. On the lateral walls, you will find Bible episodes, on the right about the life of Jesus, and on the left about Moses. It is a different, easier way to enjoy the chapel where conclaves are held to choose the next pope and St. Peter's Basilica without leaving home.
Well, you had to leave home and journey to Flatbush, Brooklyn if you wanted to enjoy Haitian Independence Day. And that's exactly what we did.
Today we're at Lady of Refuge Church and we're celebrating the feast of Our Lady, Mother of God, this first day of the year, New Year's Day, but also we're celebrating the Haitian Independence Day, 209 years of independence for Haiti. And so the Haitians come and we have a very big celebration and a double celebration for Mary, the Mother of God, and Haitian Independence Day.
We're the first black country to be free from slavery, to get our independence. So today, and celebrating this day for us, remind us, all of those who shed their blood for us, for liberty and freedom for us now as Haitians.
We call the people to pray together, and in the same time we offer them some reflection about the importance of being a successful nation.
We entrust Haiti, our beloved country, into Mary's hands, for she cares for us. As Haitians, we are faithful people. So our faith keeps us going. And not only we have the faith back home, so we brought it here with us in the United States. That way we can build up not just our families, but our communities of faith.
We're very well organized. Almost 20 parishes have Mass in Creole or French. Priests are sufficient to deal with the population. So we're very happy with the work that is accomplished by the Haitian Apostolate, especially in leadership of Bishop Saint-Cyrique, although retired, still exercises leadership in the apostolate.
Well, I come to celebrate not only the independence of Haiti, but I come to celebrate the joy and the love that there is in Christ Jesus. And the church is very welcoming to the community, so I just feel that this event was the right moment just to celebrate the independence of Haiti also.
Oh, it's very important for Haitian people because we were slaves. We've been in slavery for so long. It was a time for us, to be free. At least today we are free. We say at last we are free.
We need peace. 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 Not only for the Haitian community here, but in our country, in Haiti, and all over the world. We need peace.
Well, today we ask them to pray for Haiti and continue to work for the redevelopment. It's a long-term process. We want to make sure that Haiti is a nation that is successful in dealing with the problems internally, but also dealing with the migrants who leave, but also who never forget Haiti and send back their help and their prayers.
And thank you for joining us. We leave you with more from the celebration of Haitian Independence Day. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching and have a good night.